Good evening everyone, Titus here for part 2 of our Teleportation Pad mini-series, and in this video we'll clean up some of the geo we created during the boolean cuts in the previous video to fix our topology and improve our edge flow. This will be a bit of a long video, but the topic is an important one if you're looking to get serious with your 3D modeling. Let's not waste any time and jump right into it. Alright, so I'm going to start off by selecting my base, isolating it. And I have some weird pinching going on, so I think I'm going to remove some of the creases and the sharp markings. So I'll go into edit mode. I'm going to go into edge select, and hold Alt, click on any of the blue lines, and then you can actually press N, and then you have your bevel weights and your crease. You can just drag those to 0, and then if you have a light blue line, just right click and do clear sharp. And that'll get rid of a lot of the weird pinching that we're seeing, especially like on the top here. I'm going to leave it on the bottom of the innermost face and the bottom of the object as well, but I'm going to get rid of all these other ones here, so I'll go ahead and speed up the footage so you don't have to sit for that. Alright, so that looks a little bit better, and I think I'll keep it just like that. Alright, so next thing we're going to do is I forgot to add a shape here. So if I come to top view, I'm going to select the base, and I want a box cut kind of in the top to separate these two pieces here. So I'll make sure I'll be in my box cutter. And if you don't have box cutter, you'll have to add a mesh through Shift A and just do a cube. And then on the base, you'll have to add a Boolean modifier and then just select the cube that you make. But the add-on makes it easy. Just drag a box here like that. Press G, you can reposition it how you want it. I'm maybe gonna go right about there. And then I can drag it down. I'm gonna go pretty far. Probably right about there. Then I'll just press enter, lock that shape in, and then we're looking pretty good. Alright, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to bring back my cutters. So I will expand out my cutters here, and I'm just going to drag down and make sure they're all visible. And then I'm going to select each of the circular cuts here, and I'm going to select the base using Shift Select. I'm then going to isolate with /. I'm then going to tab into edit mode, and I'm going to reposition these so the cuts are in the, I guess near the center of the quad, so I don't have to deal with these intersections. You can make it work either way. I just think it's easier for, we're going to be triangulating some of our geo, and I find it's easier if it's in the center of a quad, but this is optional. So what I can do is I can select and then press L, and that'll do link select, and then I can just simply grab and then shift and then kind of move it towards the center of the quad as best I can. This will mess with your, the origin of the object, but you can reset that to center of volume if you need it for some reason later on. So I'll press L, G, and then shift, kind of bring it in just like that. And I'll do L, G to grab. Then you'll notice here, like, you get the weird shading when it's going through an intersection, so when you move it out, it kind of cleans it up a bit. Alright, and then this one, I'm going to move up here, I think, and then just kind of position that as best I can, like so. And then I will hide my cutters for now, I think. I might come back to them. The next thing I'll want to do is I'll come out of edit mode, and what I'm going to do now is just select just the base by itself, tab in. I'm going to create an edge loop to go through the cuts, so I'll do a Control R, and then I'll right click so it snaps center, and that'll give me a nice edge loop to triangulate off of. I'm then going to create edge loops down each of the quads with a hole in it, so I can triangulate up and down and in the corners. So we'll do a cut here, and then Control R to do a cut here, and then Control R to do a cut there, and then one last one right here. Alright, that looks good. Now, the next thing we can do is, if we go back into top view, and then we can select our cutters again, come out of edit mode, and then we can reset the origins real quick if we need to. Set origin, center of mass. Then I'll shift select all these items. And then I'm basically just going to make sure that the intersection kind of goes through, basically it doesn't hit one of these line segments here. And if it does, like you can see it hits with this one, then I'm going to select something in here, and I am just going to shift and drag it down just so it lines up a little bit better. This one's pretty center. This one might be a problem here, so I'll click in, press L, grab shift, and then maybe I'll just drag it up a bit. So it's kind of like that. Looks good. Last one here. It's pretty close. I'll click in, press L, grab shift, I'll bring it back a bit, bring it forward, just so I have plenty of clearance when I join up these edges later. And I think that's pretty good. So I'll come out of edit mode, and I could probably come out of isolation mode for a bit. We'll hide the cutters again. And I think now we are ready to get destructive with some of our mesh. So before we do that, it's good practice. You can either back up your mesh into a folder, or what I find is easier, you just go File, Save As, and just bump the teleporter to a different number. And that way you have I guess a little bit of version control. So you can revert back to a previous save if you need to undo something. Okay, but what we'll do now is I'm going to apply some of these modifier stacks here. So you can come through and just apply each one and work top down. Or if you have the hard ops add-on, just press Q. Under operations, there's a smart apply. It'll do it for you. And then what that allows is I now have access to the geo. So I can begin working on triangulating, which is going to be pretty much the bulk of this video. So let me show you what I mean when we triangulate. So what I'll do here is I'm going to go to vertex select, and basically all we're doing is I'm going to be joining up points here, and I'll try to put up a B-roll to show you kind of like what it looks like if you don't do this. But essentially, if you're working in a modeling software, it can handle n-gons, quads, tries, and it looks fine. But if you try exporting it into a game engine or some type of baking software, it's going to try to triangulate your mesh, and if it doesn't have enough edge data, it's going to guess. And sometimes it picks the shortest path, and your edges may collapse in funny or weird ways, so your circles may not look right. And hopefully I'll be able to put up some B-roll that demonstrates that. So basically with Blender or in any modeling software, the more data you feed it, the less likely it is to make a mistake. So you don't have to do this all the time, but if you find that your final product is looking a little weird, maybe go back in, add some more edges, and a lot of times it'll clean up a lot of your issues. So what I like to do is I'll start with one segment, and then I'll shift select, and then complete the line segment and press J to join. If I try to do that out of order, like say I do shift select like this, it's not going to work right because it's going to follow the path that I go. So the way I do it is I select this one, and then I shift where it wants to go, and then I shift where I want it to return. And then when I press J, it'll join. And then I can do that over and over again until I get enough edge data where I feel Blender will be all right interpreting it, or whatever software I'm using. Unreal Engine would be the one in this case. I shift select, so I'll hook up a corner there, and I can select these two, join, and then you can even hook up multiple points like so, and that way your mesh just will basically maintain the shape that you want. A lot of this is kind of like the boring part, but if you've already done some renders before, or you've exported to a game engine and it looked great in the modeling software, but it didn't when you got it to the game, this is probably why. Pick this one up here. Let's go reset my view, frame selected. And I think I'll hook up right there. And I'm going a bit overboard with this just to demonstrate the effect. So you guys can kind of see what my thought process is when I do it. Oops. So something like that. So before I repeat the steps on the other circles, I'll kind of speed up that footage so it's not so boring for you. The other thing I would say we're going to do is we're going to complete the edge flow going through. And maybe I'll do that over here just to show you what that looks like. But essentially, edge flow, you should be able to alt select an edge, and it should be able to travel along, a set path. And kind of go all the way through, and you see we have some stops here, and for most of the time that's not going to be an issue, but good practice is to make sure you have good edge flow where basically something can traverse all the way around and it doesn't actually run into something and get stuck. Like this is good edge flow up here, but not so much down here, so you may run into weird shading errors when you try to do that. So that's going to be more of the same. What we can do is I'm going to just create a new segment down here. You can also merge it in, so you have a lot of different ways to approach the problem. But I'll just create a new segment. I can just press K, go to my knife tool, select that vertex, and then I can just click in and hold Shift, and press Enter, lock that selection in. And then if I come over here and I press K, I can do that right there, although I will undo that because I didn't have my view set correctly. And then I will press Shift, Enter to lock it in, and then I can just select this two innermost pieces here, press J to join it, and now I have a continuous segment there. And then if I do K, I'll add a segment over here, hold Shift, and Enter to lock it in, turn my view around, K for the knife tool, Shift, and then I can just select the inside vertices, J to join, and now I have completed that segment. So if I was to alt click, edge flow can go all the way through, and the edge flow can continue all the way through over here. So that's essentially all I'm going to be doing. is I'm going to be triangulating the outermost pieces of the ring all the way around, and then I will junction up the edges as well, so we have good edge flow. So I'll go ahead and speed up the modeling process here, just so it's not so boring for you guys. Alright, so we got our mesh pretty much corrected the way that I wanted to. So what we can do now is, instead of doing all that work on the other side, we can actually do Alt-X. That'll bring up our hard ops option for a mirror, and we just choose the side that we want the detail. And then once you apply the mirror, which we can't edit mode, so let's tab out, apply the mirror, tab back in, and you'll notice all that work was actually duplicated over. So you should be good for that part. If you don't have hard ops, you can of course just simply add a mirror modifier and then just choose the appropriate options for flip and bisect, which I think you just want flip in that case. And then on this cut here, we're going to want to join up some of these pieces. So this one's a little bit easier. I think what we'll do is, we got 3 pieces here. That one's joined. Probably join this one. So let's do, we'll use just our knife tool. And we'll cut in to this shape here. Lock that in. And then we'll just GG to edge slide. This, oh, well, maybe not. Maybe we'll just do, I guess maybe we will leave it there. Might edge slide that over maybe. Yeah, let's go over here, select this one, GG. I think that'll look a little bit better. And on this one, I will do the same thing. So we'll do knife cut, edge down, select. And we'll select this one here and edge it up a bit better. And we can also, depending on how the shading looks, these edge loops, we can actually cut them into the faces and then continue that edge flow. But I think we could probably get away with doing just some junctions right here. Hook that up there. Junction that one down there. And then junction that one there. We'll see. I might play with that. So we'll see how that looks in the bake, but we might come back to it and modify it a bit. So, but right now we're looking pretty good. I think what we can do here, this video's kind of already getting long in the tooth, but we got to come out of isolation mode, and we basically want to do the same thing for this piece here. So we'll bring this into isolation mode, and I guess before we do that, let's bring back the cutters, and let's shift select these cutters in here, and we'll isolate all those units together. And then we're not going to have access to the geo. So right now it's still a plane. So we can come to the top option here and apply the solidify modifier. And that frees up the geo. So now we can actually do some stuff here. And I think what we'll do is we'll do a Control R. And we're gonna try to get a loop cut right through this this cut here. So we'll drop it there. And then what we can do is under edge select, we'll select that edge there. And we'll select that edge there. GG, slide it back. Looks good there. I'm gonna hide the cutters for a second. Then I want the line segment to be kind of even, I guess. So the way we can do that is we can go to transparency mode, which will let me select that vertex down there. Shift select the top vertex. Alt Z to come out of transparency mode. GG to edge slide. And hold control, it'll kind of lock it in there. And I'm looking for something a little bit like that. I think that looks okay. And then looking at it again, I think I want to take another stab at these edges here. GG and maybe control. Perfect. That way I just have something to junction off of when I do the cuts, and I'll deal with the middle section. And then let's try to repeat that over here. So we do Control R. Although that cut looks a little weird. Oh, I think I see what it's doing. Oh, it's because these are angled. Okay. So what we can do is let's actually just scale in the Y by 0. Okay, that's gonna mess with that a bit. We can see if we can clean it up. And we're gonna GG to slide it back. Go top view, maybe right there. And let's just select this edge, scale Y, that doesn't look zeroed out. And I don't really like how it's pinching. So let's scale this one in the Y by 0. Grabbing the X maybe. Undo that because it's not looking. Yeah, let's just undo that. I'll approach that a different way. So let's do this instead. We'll go to vertex select, Alt Z, shift select these vertices here, top view, scale Y 0, GG. Like so, and then we're going to Alt Z, shift select, scale Y 0, looks a little bit better, and then it's looking a little funky, but maybe it needs to be like that. Alright, let's go top view again. See if I can edge slide this back. Hold control, see if I can snapping helps at all. Looks like it does. And can I scale those in the Y by 0? that up at all? Yeah, it looks like it did, so I will undo that. I guess those need to be slanted like so, but that at least gives me my cut through the middle. Unfortunately, I don't think I have a way to mirror that on the other one, so I will repeat that process. I'm going to speed it up so you don't have to watch me. So we'll be back. All right, and we're back. So we got our preparations in place. So now we can actually tab out of edit mode, and let's go ahead and press Q, and we'll do smart apply and apply our modifiers. If you don't have hard ops, you'll have to go through and apply each one individually. Tab back into edit mode, and now we need to clean up our geo. I'll show you how I clean up the one piece, and then I'll just speed up the footage on the other two, just to make it easier. But starting off, you can see our edge flow is broken up pretty bad. So if I hold Alt click, it doesn't continue there, it does come around. So typically, I guess the best way to describe good edge flow is if you imagine a vertex, it should be able to travel in one direction, I guess infinitely. If it has to stop and do a 180, most of the time you're probably gonna be fine, but you could have a weird artifact, like when you're baking or when you're bringing it into a game engine, just like stuff like that. So what we'll do is, let's first join up these pieces here. J to join, Shift select, and then we'll repeat that process on this side. So now when we do an edge selection, it'll go all the way through. All right, back to vertex select. I'm gonna hook up my junction points now. So I'll go to top view, and I usually try to make my line segments perpendicular is what I'm aiming for. So, so if the line's gonna hit here, I want it to, and that's mainly because I bevel a lot. So if you're doing bevels and the line's perpendicular, you usually don't run into any, two vertices that are close together that are gonna cross over, and you get some scrambled geo, which is your other baking issues that you can find. But these are recommendations. Most of this time, most of the stuff you probably won't have to do. But if you find that you're bringing something in a game engine, or you're trying to render or bake something and has a weird artifact on it, it's probably because of this. All right, so I'll junction up like that. And remember, order of operation does matter. So if I shift select and then shift select and then do that one, it's going to try cutting over there and then there. So if I press J, which is not what you want. So I'll select this one. I want it to go there second, and then I want it to go there last. And then J to junction, keeps it nice and clean. And then I'll maybe hook up a couple points over here. And then for this one, probably be okay if you junction over there, but just for demonstration, you can also cut into another line segment, like so. And then you can even cut around and create that flow, which I'll show you in a second as well. Alright, looks good. And then from this point, if we really wanted to, press K, knife cut around, hold shift. Doesn't look straight, but gonna let go of shift and around there and enter to lock that in. Alright, looks good. Now I'll junction up these points in a similar fashion. A lot of this is kind of boring and repetitive, but you know, if you do any serious modeling, it's good to know the fundamentals, because they can help you out when you run into trouble. And I'm going a bit overboard with the junctions. I don't think we need this many. And then on this one, I'm going to do a cut. Oops. I will undo that. Okay, for my knife tool, cut right there. Oops. Like I said before, the more edge data you give Blender, the less likely it'll make a mistake on the render, or whatever software you're going to be doing that in. And then I can select this piece here, knife cut all the way down. So now we got the top of the mesh triangulated for this piece. So now I can just go underneath, and we got to do more of the same. So you can also press Control 7, and that'll bring you underneath the hood as well. Alright, so I think you guys probably get the idea here. What I'll do is I will speed up the footage. We don't have to wait so long. Alright, we got all our geo cleaned up now. So that one is a bit of a long process, but sometimes that's what you have to go through. But I think for now, we're going to cut the video here, and in the next one, we're going to fix our rivets, and we'll create our high poly counterpart versions, so we can begin sculpting the actual extra detail. But I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. As always, thanks for watching, consider subscribing, and see you on the next one.